5. I'll just bring us in.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Kyle.
And KZ.
And we are the Veteran Chat Project, back at you with Season 1, Episode 8. Season 1 don't make no sense. But we got Alder in the house, Sergeant James Alder in the house. He's going to chat with us a little bit. He was on our Turret Talks with us a while back, and he wanted to come back on and share a little bit more of his story with us, which we always truly appreciate. So it is good to see you, sir. How are you doing? How have you been since we last talked?
I've been doing good. Just working, trying to stay busy.
Working that pole?
Yeah. Lots
of
Dude, yeah, I'm looking at my notes. I'm looking at my notes. I was like, is that where he said he worked it?
I didn't get that. Did he read that? Yeah, we like to keep everybody on their toes here at the Veteran Chat Project. So anyways, working. Not on the pole, ladies and gentlemen. In case you were wondering where you could find him, he is not stripping. Sorry.
No.
He's a bear.
Yeah, we're glad to have you on. Like Kyle said, he hopped on. Alder hopped on our very first successful Turd Talk, and I think he's our first legitimate guest on Turd Talk that was like.
Yeah, he popped in there real quick.
Heck yeah.
Yeah,
while I was driving.
He was driving.
Yeah, while you were.
I'm at Walmart checking out. I'm like, hey, let's do this.
You should have just gone live right there in Walmart. Like, everybody, you're on the podcast. And then next thing you know, do you like sports?
Yeah. Then they get stopped at the door. Let me see your receipt.
Yeah.
I paid for this phone.
Like, dude, this phone was free. That's not a block of cheese, sir. It is today. So, yeah. Anyways, Sergeant Alder was with us in heavy company, came to us post our first deployment together, mine and Boughton's, and then he was in Blue Platoon for most of the time, right?
Yeah. Pretty
much the whole time. And, so we didn't get a whole lot of face-to-face time with him, but pretty much it was every time we saw him, it was I'm going to stop and have a smoke with Sergeant Alder because he's cool as fuck.
Oh, yeah. There were definitely whispers when Sergeant Alder got to the company, too. It was like, he's got, what patch is that? Like, what patch is that? The 4th ID patch, right? 4th ID patch?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, he's deployed like 3-4 times. We're like, what the what? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so they were definitely like, yeah, that dude's seen some heavy stuff. Like once you got the company.
That was a
sure.
horrible transition for me also because I was in 4th ID at Fort Hood, and then I got orders to go to 3rd ACR. I'm like, oh, cool, I'm going to Colorado. They were like, no, actually, 3rd ACR is coming.
Not
to Fort
today.
Hood. I was like,
what?
So
right down the road.
I almost got
changed
there.
and just went right down the road. I'm like,
welcome to the great place.
How long were you at Fort Hood for? Before that,
the entire
before
time.
3rd ACR. You were at Fort Hood your entire time?
Yep. That's why I was so excited to change units, and then I was like, oh.
Dang.
That sucks, dude. For those of you that don't know, Fort Hood is not a glamorous duty station.
It is not a great place.
But they tell you that every day to reinsure the fact that it is indeed a great place.
I've yet to meet one veteran, not to go sidebar too far, but I've yet to meet one veteran that has actually experienced the great place that's been to Fort Hood. Because, I work with vets on a daily basis, so whenever I meet someone that's front, I was stationed at Hood. It's like, oh, when? Like, oh, in the 80s. How was it in the 80s? Oh, shit. Like, okay. And then I just check that off my list. I'll meet someone that was stationed. Like, yeah, I was in there I was stationed at Fort Hood. When? Oh, in the late 70s. How was it in the late 70s? Oh, it was shit. Like, oh, okay. Nope, not 70s.
They're like, yeah, I was there. But Elvis was there.
Oh, that was cool. Still shit, though. That's why he left pretty quick. He was only there long enough to take a couple pictures on a tank and wear a Brave Rifles patch, though. So, yeah, Elvis was a tanker, in case you didn't know.
He was.
I think it was
I did not know that until I got there.
He was in the 3rd ACR Museum sitting on a tank. If you ever are in Fort Hood, you can go 3rd ACR Museum, I believe was, what was it, right off of Hood Street?
Oh, there you go. Really?
And you can go in there and, there's a picture of Elvis Presley sitting on a tank. I think he was a private E2 at the time.
They got his uniform jacket. Yeah, uniform jacket in there too.
The King, baby.
So you said you were there the whole time. How many years total was that in the Army?
11 and a half.
Oh, yeah.
What's wrong? You couldn't do 12?
Yeah, no. Like Casey was saying, I did 3 tours before I even got to the 3rd ACR. And that was during the 4th tour, getting ready to go. I'm like, all right, I'm kind of pushing my luck.
Right. And then I bet to the last tour with ACR, you're like, this is just retarded. You know, the way we did that last deployment was just kind of it was such a dog and pony show, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it was hardly a mission as much as it was a...
I don't really remember a whole lot of it, actually. And I took a ton of photos that tour.
Yeah.
So, but most of it was like just us like doing kickball and the cookouts. And
I remember when we went out, I was in headquarters, and then you guys were going out to FOB Germany to do that training with the IA, where we wound up doing the Miles Gear training. And I asked First Sergeant if I can go with you, and he was like, hell yeah. So I attached with Blue for the weekend. It was like two weeks or so we were out there.
Yeah.
Me and Carlson, we stacked up like 13 bodies that day. So funny story. Not for real, but...
no, for anybody listening, Miles Gear is like glorified laser tag. But
it's the best.
Grade, so it like only half works.
It's the best.
Oh, man.
Especially Miles Gear for the tank.
There's a full... this stuff didn't work. But there's a full-bird colonel running around. He was just overseeing the whole training operation or whatever. And we were basically more or less teaching the Iraqi army how to, like, clear houses. So it was like mount training. They had some houses set up, and when we were, shoot houses with the blanks, and we were the OP4 against the Iraqi army, so it was pretty cool. I remember at one point they come running in, and you got like 5 dudes in the back, like running around shooting their blanks at birds and shit, and then there's like a colonel yelling at them like, stop it, and they're just like, but that's the Iraqi army for you. Anyways, I mean, they were pretty easy to outmaneuver, I'm not gonna lie, and I'm not like, Mr. Get Down or nothing like that, but me and Carlson, I remember we had a pretty nice setup in this corner. He was kind of across the way, and I had this corner where the dudes would kind of jump in, so I'm like there, and then it's a ditch, and they would just like jump out in this ditch, and they didn't know where I was because I was literally tucked right on the building or behind a berm, so I was just picking them off. And they were like, this whole time this colonel's watching me and Carlson just take, I think it was like 12 or 13 guys, and he stops after it. He gives me and Carlson both a coin. I was looking for it. It's like a poker chip. It's got like the Expendables logo on it, or like a modified Expendables logo on it. So that was pretty cool. That was with you guys, with Captain Kehoe doing the Kehoe shuffle.
Oh God. I remember that. I'm trying to remember. I remember when they told us that we were going to be doing the Miles training, and I'm thinking to myself, a guy who's already been to Iraq 3 other times, and I'm like, are you serious? Yeah. We're doing Miles training in
Iraq,
in a war zone, and I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
We did a lot of it too. Remember, we traveled all the way across the damn country just to go shoot a gunnery.
Oh yeah, was it Hammer?
Yeah, Hammer. That's where I was at. I was training the Iraqi army on tanks at the beginning of the deployment there.
Yeah, and I got
fun.
When I reenlisted, I went to the company that ran the range there at FOB Hammer. When I PCS, I PCS into that tank company at Fort Riley.
Yeah,
and they were like, and they were talking about their deployment. Like, yeah, this asshole tank company from like 3rd ACR came and like shot gunnery. We didn't get to shoot gunnery. I was like, oh, That was me.
Yeah, that was us. That was us. I was the commander's gunner at that time, actually, which was pretty dope. I got to drive around the first sergeant that whole 2 weeks in the Humvee. Like, we were back and forth. That was a fun time for me. Because after, like, dealing with kind of all the bullshit we kind of talked about with, the whole getting wrapped up in the white platoon, the whole holier-than-thou Iron Knight kind of mentality that we were kind of pointed out we had by Murdoch the other day. We had that chat. It was kind of good to kind of strip that down. And First Sergeant Couch was a pretty cool dude, man. SF guy, team. He's a team guy, Sergeant First Class, and he came. By the time I came back from Hammer, he was there. But I mean, I wound up getting to drive for him, and I mean, man, he probably gave me more knowledge in that 2 weeks than anybody has, just about life in general. And I still talk to him every once in a while. But yeah, he's pretty offline as far as it goes to like phones, and he's like super simple. Don't do Facebook, don't do nothing. He's like, but you come down to Texas, we'll drink some beers and barbecue. I'm like,
that's cool.
I forgot where he's at though, but somewhere in the middle of nowhere, probably on a big ass ranch. So yeah, dude. Fun fact about Fob Hammer before we move on, and a little bit of foreshadowing for who we just booked to be on. We ran into, what was the big company? The General Dynamics, right? Remember Walker was there when we got the Hammer.
Oh yeah.
As a civilian, he was there working for General Dynamics,
making money.
Killer Keldon, who is out there killing it. I don't know if you've seen. He's switched to. He's going to do more. He said he's going to be doing a lot more Facebook and stuff reels. To kind of get his face out there and really help veterans kind of understand the homeowner or home buying stuff and the VA loans and all that, all the ins and outs of that. So even if you're not in San Antonio, if you follow along, he'll be able to point you in the right direction. We're gonna have him on. What was it? Forgot. He just booked. Yeah. No. Absolutely. He's in Texas, so he knows all the laws, especially where you're at. So he's out in San Antonio.
El Paso.
El Paso, sorry. Same thing? No, it's not the same thing. It's way far. I'm an idiot.
No.
El Paso's like
pick up a map, dude.
Weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, man, we're excited to have him on. So back to Alder, dude. So 11 and a half years, 4 deployments, whole time Fort Hood, the great place, dude. Yeah. Then we spent some time at Germany together. That was actually a good time too. Not gonna lie, we were burning shit and living out of a tent and just having a good old time. Blue Platoon. When I went with them to Fob Germany,
Fob Germany. Germany.
You're like, where did you go to Germany?
I was like, when did y'all go to Germany?
I didn't mean to yell. I probably just popped everybody's eardrums, but
okay,
that's fine.
Hey, Alder, first question: why did you become a tanker? Why tanker?
You saw the recruiting video, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly. That is exactly it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was.
I'm gonna pull it up.
For a guy who never finished high school, I surprisingly scored really high on my ASVAB, and my recruiter was like, "You can do pretty much whatever you want except for like nuclear engineering." And I was like, "Well, I don't really know what to do." So he's like showing me all these videos, and he got to the tank part, and I'm like, "I want to do that." Yeah. I don't care. That looks cool. If I'm gonna be sucking in the Army, I might as well do something fun. So I did something fun, and then it didn't really transition into a civilian skill.
No, it doesn't. It does not.
No, yeah, there's no tank companies out here.
No, and then you try to tell a civilian about it. You're like, "Yeah, I was a tanker." They're like, "Oh, fuel? You were a fueler?" Yeah. No, not that kind of tank. No. But yeah, that's exactly how they got me. Was the recruiting video, and then ended up doing like the MEPS and all that stuff, and got shipped out to Fort Knox in May of 2001.
May 2001. How old were you?
21. I just turned 21 the November before that.
Dang. And I'm assuming you, what? May 2001. So you said that before, right? You were You were in when 9/11 happened?
Yeah, we were.
Basic,
I was
right?
on the driver's tank range, or the driver's tank course, learning how to drive, going through the little like mud puddle thing that they got out there, whatever it
Oh
is.
yeah.
Yeah, and they, I said this before. They rounded us all up and told us we were going back to the barracks, and we didn't do any training for like 2 days because the whole base was locked down.
That's insane, dude. And so so shortly after that, so May 2001, 21 years old, became a tanker, and then but you say were you in 4th ID the whole time before you went to 30 CR?
Yeah.
Dang, went to 4th ID, and then you were part of that. And I know you broke it down a little bit on the turret talks, but if you don't mind breaking it down again, like you were part of that initial push, weren't you? Or
It was like the
hindsight
initial
2020.
push 0.5.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
because third infantry was actually in Kuwait already, and it was third infantry and like whoever supports them, so all those other people were there, and because there's only so much room in Kuwait because it's a little tiny country, they had to actually push north, and then we could fly in, get our tanks off the boats, prep everything, load all the ammo, and then we pushed, like a week to 10 days after they left Kuwait. So all the fighting that you saw on like Fox and CNN, like the road into Baghdad, we rode by and all those vehicles were already burnt out. And we
Still,
got,
though, I mean, seeing that and knowing, you know what I mean? Like, just how close.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's got to be, I mean, it might not be there, but you were there.
Yeah. I mean, there was still a lot going on. Like, when we, I said this during the turret talks, we actually got put on the back of a het, and the tanks were driven to Baghdad.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And then we got dropped off just south of Baghdad, and we ended up driving from Baghdad, or from south of Baghdad, through the city. So we're like a whole tank brigade in a column on the highway with regular traffic weaving in and out of us. And
Dude, that's
we drove from
so
there.
cool.
We drove from
like
Baghdad
tank porn.
all the way to Mosul.
All the way to Mosul.
Yeah.
From
Dang.
Kuwait?
From
No,
Baghdad.
From Baghdad.
Oh, from Baghdad? Sorry.
Yeah.
I was...
Dang.
So we drove the tanks.
How long did that take in tanks?
Well, in hets.
No. From Baghdad to Mosul, driving the tank itself. I can't remember exactly. It might have been maybe 3 or 4 days. Because we didn't drive nonstop.
1.5 miles per gallon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember that we landed on April 6th, and we were still driving to Mosul on Easter. So however long that was. Because I remember sitting,
Oh.
it was
just
the only
last
time I
show,
actually sat with the chaplain that tour was for Easter.
Holy cow.
But yeah,
How
then we
long
get
were
to...
you... Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
So then
No.
we get to Mosul, and we're the only tank company there. Like, our company, Charlie Company, got detached and assigned to the 101st Airborne. So it's just our tanks. And the 101st, they don't have anything to support us. Like, they don't have any spare parts. They don't have any, stuff like that. So our Exos tank, that deployment, ended up being the rat tank, and it never ran. So whenever we needed a spare part, we had to take it off the Exos tank. And then it took us 6 months before we finally got replacement track pads. Like, we were running straight metal.
Dang.
So that's
Were
crazy,
y'all-
man.
Were you guys the first force in, like, tank force in Mosul?
I don't know if we were the first. We might have been. Because the 101st replaced the Marines that were there.
I ask because I don't know, Kyle, if you remember the right next to like the little range they set up for us to qual and requal with our 9mm and M4s. There was that tank graveyard Was that there when you were there, Alder? That tank graveyard?
In Missoula, I don't remember one in Missoula. I remember one in Taji, my second tour.
Okay.
But
I
we were
seeing
in Missoula. We were actually like, do you know were you ever on the Missoula airfield?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were there. Like that's all we did was do the perimeter around the airfield.
Oh shit.
So whenever their infantry or something, like there was one mission, I don't remember what part, if it was at the beginning or towards the end. It's been such a long time, it's all blend together. But they had to go out and dispose of weapons caches, and so we had to go out and pull Overwatch for them while they did that in tanks. And,
like burning them?
No, they like used explosives and like just blew everything up.
Yes.
And
there'll be a control of that in 3.
It was nice though because the 101st, they don't have anything like tanks, so they treated us like gods. It was nice. Like we just pulled straight up with the tank to the PX or to the chow hall and just parked right in front of the door, jumped off, walked in, like, hey, how's it going?
That's cool.
Big old dick walking into the chow hall.
That's cool.
People coming by like all day and like, hey, can we get a picture on the tank? Like, yeah, sure, come on. You can hop inside.
Yeah, all we got was the gin blossoms, dude. And they drank all the Sarandis Red Bull, and then this motherfucker wanted to yell at us about that shit. Like, who drank my Red Bull? Like, man, Bledsoe gave it to the dude from the gin blossoms. You guys painted your tank tube, though. Maybe had the that was on like a magazine, wasn't it? Or it was on. I think they put it on their Facebook or what. I don't know, but they had you had to paint your gun tube the gin blossoms, didn't you, on your tank?
Oh, yeah.
Because we only had one tank per platoon in that deployment.
Yeah. I remember, I think I did that.
Fucking...
Yeah. I can't remember if it was me or Carl.
See, yeah, that's staying busy.
I remember that.
That's using the tax money real good.
And then
so,
we
yeah.
paint right over it.
Yeah, paint right over it as soon as they left, like it never happened. Yeah. Just like, right when we left, it never happened. So, yeah, so we got a little background on you. I know we like to do a little background and let kind of people know, where you've been, what you've seen, stuff like that. But then a big thing we like to chat about here is kind of the transition. What was it like for you kind of getting out, so we got your background. You got out when again?
I got out in September of 2012.
So 2012, September, and you're what? You're in the Houston area, correct?
Dallas.
So, and you went right back there after, so you never left Texas then?
No.
Nice. Are you from Texas originally?
No, actually I grew up in
I don't think I've never asked that.
I grew up
Toledo.
in Toledo, Ohio.
Oh, shit.
You and Barton would probably, are you into sports and anything in Ohio State? Barton had a big old Ohio State flag. I figured you would have had your flag and hat on. They're like CrossFitters and vegans. You can't
I meant to have
really
my
get
hat.
it.
I got my veteran's hat, but I forgot. Whatever.
All right, Bowden. Speaking of hats, dude, are you wearing your new hat?
Oh yeah.
Bowden's got a fresh, tasty new hat on.
I like the circle.
I do too.
Yeah.
I think I like that one better, and it's got like kind of the jagged edges on too. But I like that better. I got this one.
Now you need to like glue some like beer bottle caps to it or something.
So yeah, so 2012, and you get out. What was that like? How hard was it to kind of adjust after 11 and a half years in the military?
It was a big adjustment, and I really did not consider it a change until I was going through it. Because I had been through 4 deployments. I got married in March of 2012, and I had a son that was born in July of 2012. And
yeah, I think I remember that.
Yeah. So after 4 deployments and now having a new family, I was like, I'm kind of not wanting to do this no more. So I ended up getting chaptered out because of being overweight. Thankfully, it was still an honorable discharge. But I was still kind of treated like oh, he's just a failure. So, I still had to do
I know how that
CQ,
goes.
and while I was doing my out processing, I still did CQ and a couple other things, and then they were like, well, why aren't you gone yet? Sorry, not out fast enough for you.
Yeah, they really kind of change on you, don't they?
Oh yeah, I remember I had to do the sit down with the command sergeant major, whoever, I don't remember what his name was now, and he was like, "You don't even have a plan getting out, do you? You're just going to end up going and selling shoes at Walmart." I'm like,
Like, what do you think? I'm Al Bundy, dude? Like,
yeah,
come on. I mean, what kind of a leader is that? That's what the thing is, dude. It's like a lot of these guys are, toxic bullshit leaders who, like, instead of taking 5 minutes to truly impact your life and, like, hey, he decided to, kind of blast his insecurities on you and kind of give you more to worry about on your way out.
Yeah, but it was annoying, and it's still kind of annoying at the time, today, but I just kind of let that roll off to my back. It's not going to affect me. But yeah, I got out, but he was right. I didn't have a plan. So me and my wife at the time, we moved up to Dallas and stayed with her sister who was living up here.
Yeah.
And while I was looking for a job, I ended up finding a job at Loomis Armored, which was like the armored trucks that carry money around to banks and stuff. Which I grabbed that one because they were the first ones that called me back. So I was like, I need a job. You're offering me a job. I'm going to take your job. And it was not a good choice because I was adjusting to being a civilian and still carrying a gun and still looking over my back and going to just being stressed all the time. So I ended up going to the VA, and they gave me, they were like, well, what kind of symptoms do you have? What's this? And, you probably got PTSD. I'm like, well, no kidding. So they give me so they give me the antidepressants. They send me to a therapist.
The cocktail.
Yeah. And I'll say that those worked kinda, as long as you can remember to take them. Because as soon as you don't,
that's huge.
They drop you. And
oh yeah, dude.
You go through this roller coaster of emotions, and you don't know what's happening to you. And
yeah, it's like a withdrawal. It's like a drug withdrawal.
Oh yeah.
Basically,
I mean, it is,
but
it's not like it helps if you're like the next day you're like, oh, hey, I forgot to take it, so go ahead and take it again. So now you're back up on your high, and you're like, okay, well, this feels fine, and then you forget again, and you go back down, but yeah, that was, I think I went through that I think I took them for maybe a month and a half, and I said, screw this, I'm not going through this. So I just stopped taking them altogether. And so I went to the therapist, and, talking with the therapist kind of helped just by talking, but they didn't really ask the right questions, that I wasn't willing to share stuff just out of the blue without the specific questions.
Right, you had to be prompted, and I think we tapped on this a little bit in an episode prior. It kind of feels scripted when you kind of go into these VA doctors. It's almost like they have the questions already mapped out. A lot of the times you get into there and it's, on a scale of 1 to 10, how's this? On a scale of 5 to 7, what's this? How's this? And you're just like, oh, no, I'm fine. Okay, and then you just brush over it. And then they go, you ever had any suicidal ideations? I mean, like, well, I thought about it, but I don't want to. Oh, well, you're suicidal? Like, no, that's not what I said. Were you listening? Oh, no, I said that I've thought about it, but I don't want to, because ultimately it's something we've also talked back on is that bounce back, just being able to kind of get out of it. Which, I mean, obviously did, but...
It's also a weird conversation to have when they say that. Like, they ask that to that specific question. Like, Have you had any suicidal ideations? You're like, oh yeah, tell me. Like,
yeah, like, oh, now I got your attention, huh? Yeah, okay, but and then they're like, here, tell me.
Yeah.
I'm recording.
No, it wasn't even
This is
with
going straight into
that
your...
though, because I don't remember if my therapist ever asked me that specific question. But it was also like they were asking the questions and they were kind of listening, but they were listening for the answers they wanted to hear.
Right.
So as soon as I started saying what he wanted me to follow, he's like, "Okay, you're good. Bye. See you later." I'm like, okay.
I did my job.
In my
This
head,
veteran
thinking,
has been saved.
And then in my head, I'm thinking, okay, so I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm not fine, but I've got
Hell
someone
no.
else telling me that I'm fine.
Yeah.
So
Which is
now
crazy.
I'm trying to think if I'm fine, then somebody else is wrong. So I start, with the antidepressants and the therapy and the job, just stressed all the time. I was like walking on eggshells with myself, trying to keep myself from exploding. And every time I would try to share something with my spouse, it was, well, you're on your antidepressants, right? You went to the therapist, right? So you're fine. Why are you upset?
No.
I'm like,
Oh, dude.
It doesn't work like that. I mean, it's all supposed to help and they give you steps, but it doesn't just turn off because I did
yeah.
it,
So I ended up trying to make things work by shutting it off and closing it down and not letting 11 and a half years of stress, slowly find its way somewhere else. And it just kept boiling and boiling. And one day it just exploded. I don't remember how or why. And it was just this huge, huge argument. And I don't remember what I said or what I did, but it was enough to scare her enough into calling the police. And
Oh shit, dude.
yeah. So I remember at least trying to wrestle the phone away because I didn't want it to escalate that far, but it was already there.
Right.
And so she ended up leaving the apartment, and I've got my 2-year-old at that time in the house, and I knew what was going to happen, so I just grabbed him, sat on the floor, and held him until the police came. And cried my eyes out. Ended up getting handcuffed, put in the car, taken downtown. And at that point, I was at my lowest. And everything just like fell out of the bottom of my heart. And, they're booking me and they're like, so, are you feeling violent? I'm like, no, not right now. And they were like, well, do you feel like you might hurt yourself? And me being a dumb guy, I'm like, yeah, a little bit. So what do? They put me in solitaire for 3 days.
Yeah, and make you feel worse about it instead of being like, hey man, I mean, you're going through something. Let's, let me send in a therapist to chat about it or something like that.
Damn, dude.
So yeah, I sat in solitaire for 3 days. I didn't know how to navigate the situation. I'd never thought I would be in a situation like that. So I sat in Dallas County for 2 weeks. Finally saw a public attorney or whoever the guy is now, I can't remember. And they were like, well, you can either plead guilty or not guilty. And I was like, well, I would rather it not be guilty, but what's going to that entail? They're like, well, you'll have to wait for your court date, which is going to be in about a month because we're backlogged. And I'm like, so I can get out now if I just say I'm guilty? They're like, yeah, we'll let you go because you'll have time served.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So, pled guilty, got out, went back to my apartment, and it was empty. Except for my futon and my laptop and like a bed frame. Like everything was
basically you got yourself a barracks room again.
Yeah. So.
And you're just like, well.
And I think this is what started it. Was I had lost my job, and
Oh,
I forgot to mention that at the beginning. That I think that's what got it started. Was I had lost my job and I didn't know what was going
That
to happen.
security job.
Yeah. So now I'm 2 weeks out of jail. Or I just spent 2 weeks in jail and have no job, have no money, because the bank account was drained, I think, too. And so I didn't know what to do. I ended up, I got a little bit of money from somewhere. I forget where it was. I sold my gun. I think that's what it was. And I lived out of my car.
Seemed like a smart choice at the time.
Oh, yeah. Well, I needed the money.
Well, like, hey, I don't need this thing sitting around telling me bad ideas.
I tried muting it when I coughed, sorry. So, yeah, I ended up living out of my car for maybe a week or two. And luckily, my sister was with a company that had a branch in Dallas, and she talked to the manager there and said, hey, my brother needs a job. Can you hire him on to do anything? And they were nice enough to let me come in and start, at like minimum wage, whatever it was. And I worked there for 5 years, and the whole time trying to deal with what had happened to me.
yeah.
And I honestly did not know what to do. I tried expressing myself on Facebook, and everybody's like, the people that I served, half of them stopped talking to me because of what I had done. And then the other half were like, yeah, we're here, just, give us a call, whatever. And I was just too ashamed to do anything. So.
Yeah, that's a hard. It's a hard situation to be in.
Oh, dude.
It was. I honestly don't know how I got through that, because I was just kind of like on autopilot.
For those 5 years?
For probably about the first 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
I was just on autopilot going. I ended up finding a place to live after my first paycheck. And it was just a dude that owned a house, and he rented out each bedroom to different people. And then you have like a common area, living room and kitchen. And because it was cheap. And I just lived, worked. My sister was nice enough to get me an Xbox for that Christmas, and I had something to do.
Yeah,
so
right.
It kind of distracted me for a little bit. But I, like I said, I was just on autopilot. And eventually I started like going back out, and whether it was the smart thing to do or not, I didn't know where else to go, so I went to the bar and kind of became a regular at a bar, and didn't talk to nobody, just sat there and drank for maybe an hour or 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours, and then I'd go home and pass out.
Oh, shit.
And eventually I tried like meeting people and hanging out with people, and there was nobody from the army that I knew that was in the area, so it's not like I could like go and hang out.
Oh, yeah.
It was difficult for me to actually accept and forgive myself for what I had done, because it was my fault, but at the same time I'm trying to tell myself that it's not my fault. So just, and I,
Yeah, it's a tough one, man.
It still haunts me to this day. I put on a happy face, but like in those slow moments, I'll think back and like, you were an idiot. So
Dude,
that's
for
from there to here. I eventually found somebody that accepts me and my flaws and what I've done, and they are the most supportive person that I've ever met. We've been together for 6 years now, and we have not had one argument. I have no idea how. We sit, like, whenever we don't agree on something, we'll
How
just
do you
sit
do-
down and be like,
Yeah, like tell me how. I love my wife to death, but we argue
Tell me
all
how.
the time, right? I got
no,
the notebook open.
we
Man.
disagree. We disagree. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but we'll be like, okay, well, why are you upset about this? Well, this is why. Why are you upset about this? Well, I'll tell you why.
Oh, like adults.
So, yeah.
All right, babe. I'm taking notes. Babe. I'm taking notes.
So
If you
'cause
listen, I doubt you will.
if there's one thing I've realized since that spiral is that there's absolutely no reason to be that mad about anything.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I think that helps me now is like when I do get upset, I'll just tell her, like, I'll have my moments where I'm like just irritated, and she'll be like, "Are you mad about something?" I'm like, "No." Well, then why are you acting all mad? Because I'm mad.
I
Why?
don't know. It's a vibe thing.
Because I just need to be mad. Just let me be mad for like 10 minutes, and then I'll be good. She's like, okay.
Roll through the house,
She'll go away.
motherfucking everything. Fuck this stupid fucking couch, this goddamn fucking rug. All right, I'm fine. What do you want for dinner?
Oh, that's exactly.
good,
And
man.
then
Yeah, man.
I'll I'll do whatever she needs me to do. I'm like, okay, hey, thank you for giving me my 10, 15 minutes. I'm still a little irritated at myself, and I don't, there's no reason for me to be, so I'm just gonna, let myself calm down, take a few deep breaths, and we'll be good. So I think that's what's helped me out the most is that realization is that, there's like I said, there's no reason to get that upset unless someone's like, physically hurting you.
Yeah.
In that case, being that upset ain't going to do nothing. You need to be calm, you need to be concise, and you need to move in, close the distance, and eliminate the threat.
But
Hey,
yeah,
before-
oh, go ahead.
Before we go any further, I just want to say, I don't know how many people you've told this stuff to, but
Nobody.
I really, yeah, well, fuck,
Yeah,
dude,
no, yeah.
I really fucking appreciate you opening up, and saying that, because it takes a lot to admit your flaws, but it also takes a lot to admit your mistakes too, and just that period of life that you just shared, I'm fucking proud of you for where
Yeah,
you're
man.
at now. That's a hell of a journey, and I hope people can take away from that and call that exactly what that is. You described it as the lowest point in your life, but it's still part of the journey to wherever you're ending now. So it's not the end. It's not the end. So I'm not going to throw myself out there because we're here to talk about you, but I've been there too, with in those moments with law enforcement involved and stuff like that. So it's not, even though it was at that time, and I'm sure you still think that today, like the worst moments of my life was in that gap, whatever. It's still a journey. It's not. Don't let that reflect who you are today. And yeah, like, so I really appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, man. Thank you so
Holy
much.
fuck.
And I'm sure, hopefully it helped kind of help you breathe a little better. Just knowing even that, we're always here for you. And I had no idea you were going through something like that. But, I'm glad I stayed in contact with you. I'm glad, really glad you wanted to share. Like Boughton said, it's kind of why we started this thing. And to have someone as close to us as you are, kind of come on and share something that even I didn't know, and it's been 11 years since I've seen you, 11, 10, 12 years. It's,
something like that.
true growth doesn't happen overnight, and I mean that's like it's one of those moments right there where you could see it. I mean, 11 years later, you know, he's opening up, and I mean, we're not therapists again, we're not medical professionals, but the comfort level that you have with us to sit down and talk is something that you might not find in a therapist's office unless you find that one therapist that is just, you know, one of the guys type deal, you know. And shit, man, I wish you didn't have to go through that, but I'm truly glad you came out stronger and you got yourself a good support system, because that is, at the end of the day, I mean, it's irreplaceable. My wife, she doesn't have to put up with half the shit she does, and she does. And so when you said that, and it's just, when people say that, you know, I think about that all the time, and I'm just super thankful myself. And a quick shout out to my wife too. Hey, baby, I love you.
That's one of the big things that
I was going to say something
I am
inappropriate,
super grateful for, is that I finally found somebody that can understand that they're not going to understand.
Yeah.
I think that's like the biggest relief for me, is that I can come home and be irritated and everything, and all she has to do is give me a hug. And she's like,
hell yeah, dude.
Okay.
A little slap on the ass.
I mean, yeah. I mean, and that's, I mean, even for me, I mean, Kyle too, like we've deployed, but like, you know, I don't think I could fathom what you've been through. You've deployed, you know, 4 times to a combat zone. That's a lot to, like you put it in perfect words earlier. That's a lot to unwind over 11 and a half years, dude. That's a lot to unwind. So to have that support system.
When you gave me the invite to this, and I was trying to type up, you know, like the thing was like, give us some talking points, and I was like, I just started blabbing on and on and on, and once I put it all down and I'm looking at it, I was like, I did almost like year on, year off deployments, and in between those deployments, it was, you know, training to go back.
Yeah,
so there was almost no downtime.
And those were like 15-monthers too, weren't they?
No, they were all 12 months.
Oh, that's still a fucking.
So it was like 12 months deployment and 12 months stateside. I think 2007 was the only year that I spent the entire year in the United States.
Ooh,
that's crazy.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
That's
so
hard.
There's something I wanted to tap on. I know you kind of mentioned that all that stress to unwind. It's something I heard on. I think it was when that Nick guy, I forgot, I don't want to murder his last name, so I don't say it, was on Real Ones, Nick Komalastos, the guy I talked about last time. But he talked about that as like a train, right? So you imagine your military career as a train. Everything that's happened to you along that 11 years is another car added to your train, going at lightning speed, like you said, dude. No time to sit down, no time to process, no time for nothing, right? So your train's adding cars, adding weight, still picking up that same momentum, sometimes faster, never slower. And then you get out and you find yourself, it's quiet. There's not much to do. You don't have anything scheduled, and that might really kind of freak you out. And then you kind of start slowing down, right? But your train don't have brakes because it wasn't never supposed to stop, right? Yeah. So as you're stopping, all these cars start, you know, smashing into each other, and then you come to a screeching halt, dude, and then all your problems, everything comes back, and it's just smacks you, you know, and it's like, you know, like you said, like sometimes you black out and you don't know what the fuck you just said or did, and all you know is you know, the person you love is hurt by the things you said or did, you know, not physically, hopefully. You know, I've never put my hands on a woman myself. I don't know, but I know like the words are sometimes as harmful, and if not more, than hands. So I mean, that shit, you know, it catches up to you, and if you don't do something about it, like if you're getting out and you don't think about your plan, to not even just like what you're going to do with your career, to what you're going to do with your job per se, but what are you going to do with your mind? How are you going to keep yourself from letting the train derail, so to speak, you know? And I think that's it's kind of what we hope to provide people with the kind of answers for here.
Yeah. And for anybody else that's like either still serving or they're about to get out, I just want to say that you use the train metaphor. Some people, like I'll say myself included, I didn't even realize that I was on the train until it crashed. So really be aware of, you know, what's going on. Like when I got out, I said I didn't have a plan because for the last 11 and a half years, I didn't need one. The Army provided everything.
Like I'm badass, dude. I could do whatever I want.
So
fake it till you make it, right?
11 and a half years, it was almost autopilot then too, because it was, you know, train, go to war, train, go to war, train, go to war. And I can't say that I had it harder or less than anybody else. Like you were saying before, you see like the Special Force guys, the Green Beret guys, and they were just doing all kinds of stuff. I spent 4 tours in Iraq, and I shot my weapon twice. But that doesn't mean I didn't see anything.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I don't know how many times I came close to dying. Like I think
that's the crazy part that people don't think about. How like one step this way or one step that way, or like if we had came down that road like a second sooner. I think I remember it was one, you know, on our first deployment, we went into one of the cops came out. When we came back out of the cop, there were, you know, you go through the street and everybody's out, right? Everybody's playing. There's kids in the street and there's, you know, shopping carts and donkeys. And then you come back out of the cop and it's a ghost town, right?
Empty.
Like, oh shit. You know, so now you got the pucker butts big time, and you know you're just waiting for it, and then all of a sudden, nope. Well, we got to call EOD because we found one, and we're gonna be sitting here for an hour with people knowingly wanting to kill us, watching us, and they could trigger this thing at any time. We don't know if it's a remote. We don't know if it's, you know, a pressure switch. We don't know if it's whatever, man. Don't even know if it's real. Don't even know if what's going on. They could just be going to dinner. We knew what time they prayed and everything like that because they played it on the loudspeaker across the whole city 3 times. Was it 3 times a day?
Yeah.
Whole wall. I don't miss it. I don't miss that, man. I mean, I don't mean to make fun, like religion's religion, but I just don't miss having to like hear that shit at 3 a.m. or whenever they did it. It's like, God.
Can I ask you guys something? A random tangent because you brought up the prayer thing. I was at work today and I walked outside for a second, and it was just like that perfect temperature, and like there was a certain smell in the air, and I was like, I'm in the motor pool again.
Yes.
It's such a strange feeling. Like this is exactly how it felt.
You're like, I should have my cover on. Like, what's going on? Where's my?
Yeah, I've definitely had those moments. I've had those moments a lot. Motor pool or like, or sometimes if it's hot enough, like I feel like I can quit right now. Like just for a quick second, quick second. Like the smell is there. Like I feel like that, you know, someone's blowing hot air in my face.
Like a hair dryer with a handful of sand.
Yeah.
Like just...
Yeah, because it's one thing to feel the temperature. Yeah, it's one thing to feel the temperature, but then once you start smelling shit, like, or not shit, but once you start smelling stuff like those, smells bring you back, and you're just like, oh, wait a minute.
I mean, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say that's one of the first stories that I go to when people are asked, so what was it like being in Iraq? I'm like, imagine a pot full of crap, and then pouring diesel fuel on it, and then lighting it.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, that's disgusting. Like, yeah, that's the worst thing I've ever had to deal with.
So it's, I mean, we were getting pretty close to the end here, but I did, I mean, you guys said the smells thing, and I'll tell you, I do have a thing with smells. So I do have a big thing, and it is smells. It kind of is one of my triggers. So there's a day we were out, first deployment. There was a dude that was like going around executing guys or people who talked to American troops or whatever, right? I can't remember. Like, I know it's only encountered it once, and it was I got pictures of the day, but like the Iraqi army that day had a gold AK, and I remember coming back and telling everybody about this gold AK. But anyways, we were as a dismount, so we saw this. They got call or we got intelligence that there was a dead guy in a car in Iraq, fucking middle of the summer, with the windows up. And we get there, obviously, like, dude, just seeing that shit and the smell. So like I'll burn food or like something like that. And I spent a long time as a chef too, so like I would flip the fuck out sometimes if I burn food or certain meats. Dude, it makes me like so mad, and it's like one of those things where I don't even know why, because like when I saw it, it wasn't like a thing. It was just like, oh, that's gross, and just moved on. But you never knew like how that was going to affect you, and like why can't I stop thinking about this dude with his brains blown out, and I can't not smell it every time something burns.
Yeah.
Like I burn some food sometimes, I'm not the perfect chef, but yeah, man, the smell. So I know it was a little different direction on the smell situation, but yeah, that's kind of one for me. And driving, honestly, driving.
There was, we got like 3 minutes.
Oh, we got time, and I just try to keep them to whenever. We got as long as you want.
Okay. Well,
Oh, yeah.
You're on this thing now, and you got me thinking about my other. So, I think it was my second deployment, and I was with a personal security detachment for a lieutenant colonel, and he was like the liaison towards the Iraqi police. So whenever he went somewhere, we had to go with him.
Yeah.
And so we had just got done. I forget where. It was in Taji somewhere, and we were leaving the police station, and out of the palm grove came this minivan, and we were like, is he heading towards us? And I'm like looking, and he was maybe 50 to 100 yards away. And as I lock eyes with the guy, just the whole thing explodes. And I was like, holy crap. And then, immediately shrapnel, dust, everything, all over the Humvees and everything. We were lucky he got caught in like some mud or something and got freaked out. But that was the one thing that really hung around in my brain for the longest time. Every once in a while I'll think about it, but that was the one thing that got to me, was locking eyes with the guy.
Locking the eyes?
Yeah, and like in
It's
an
almost
instant,
like you
a human being
see their
was missed.
soul.
Yeah.
And
That's insane, dude.
that's one of the things that I think one of the hardest things I had to like process was knowing that a human being, he wasn't even an enemy to me. A human being was able to do that to themselves.
And they were trying to do it to you.
Yeah. Well,
but that's
I
the
think
thing,
about
is like
that,
why
but then
they're
at the
so
same
willing.
time, I'm not. It's weird.
Well, it's not you personally, because you're not.
Yeah.
They don't know James Alder. They know, guy in army uniform, right? That's all. They know all the other assholes before you and all the other assholes after you that killed their uncles or brothers, or they're probably getting paid by someone to do it or threatened. Like they're probably a lot of them times. Even Taliban grabbed them dudes up. It's like, I got your family. If you don't do this, I'm gonna kill them all. And then they're like, shit, I gotta go do it. And then we probably dust them.
But yeah, I remember it was a couple of years after that had happened. We went to go see a movie. I forget what movie it was. And it was like Middle East police murder or something was going on, and they sent CIA or something. And the beginning of the movie, there was a car bomb that went off just all of a sudden. And
The Kingdom.
I think that was, yeah.
The Kingdom, Jamie Foxx.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's a really
dude.
good movie, dude. Really good movie.
Yeah.
The Kingdom. As
When
soon as you
that
said the car
went
bomb,
off
like,
in the
man,
movie,
that thing.
I almost got up and walked out. I was like,
Yeah. I got the chills thinking about that shit, dude. I remember watching one go off, and I wasn't a part of this one, but just remember walking out of the company at Merez, and you can see, like, if you could see into downtown.
Yeah,
what
you
was
could see
that,
the city.
Mosul? I remember that one V-bed went off, dude, and then it was like just mushroom clouds. And then it was like a little bit after that where we got called out, and then like a house-borne IED went off on some IA guys, dude. Like, they kicked the front door in, and the whole house was rigged to blow. And it like split a school bus in half right in front of it.
Do you remember the
Drove
color of that
past
smoke?
It was like
It was
like
pink.
brown. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
You know why?
yeah, and then that was
Souls.
Yeah, that was, yeah. I remember.
I was gonna say it was like a brownish because with the smoke. So yeah.
They made a call for like anyone who was like A positive or blood types. So like I ran to the medics and I was like here, and then as I'm getting my blood drawn, I was like, wait, what the fuck? Did I see what I saw? Like, and I'm like looking at the blood like leaving my body. I'm like, this is for a human being.
Yeah, in like 5 minutes. It's going in someone in like 5 minutes.
Yeah. So yeah, those moments are, yeah. Dude.
Yeah.
Hey, Alder, I wanted to ask you a quick question. I don't,
yeah.
About I don't want to keep. You don't have to answer it either. But about that moment in your life, that low moment in your life. I know you said you were on autopilot after you started getting your life back together, got the job, like 2 years on autopilot. Was there anything specifically within those moments that just like kept you going? Was there something specifically you told your head like after you told yourself like this is the lowest point in my life? What kept you going?
My kid.
Your kid?
Yeah. I had a photograph of him and his mom at my workstation. And
Nice.
for the, trying to do the right thing, trying to, work on visitations and stuff. And it was like, it was an uphill battle because of the impression that I had left. And every time it came around to a visitation, it was, well, we're going to have to postpone, or we're going to be a little bit late, or we can't meet you halfway. Can you come down all the way? And I'm like, that's a good 2.5, 3 hour trip one way.
Yeah.
And I don't make that much money.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'll try, but it's just one thing after the next, and it's, but keeping him in the back of my mind all the time. It's trying to, even if I couldn't be the best at that moment, I can keep striving, to do what I can to be better tomorrow.
Of course. Yeah. Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, man.
So what do you So I know you covered on Turd Talks, but what do you? So you, sister got the job. How long you've been working in the same place, right?
No, I worked.
Since
it was the job that my sister got me. I was there for 5 years. And
5 years.
I got to know the people that I worked with pretty well, so that kind of started opening me back up to being social again. But within those 5 years, I kept working, and every day, my boss would be like, "Hey, you're not doing enough. You're not doing enough." So I kept working harder and harder, and over
you're not paying
a
enough.
course, over 5 years, I got 50-cent raise, and I'm like, I deserve better than this.
Yeah.
And it was actually funny because I had never quit a job. So
Felt good,
I didn't know what to do. So I just walked into my boss's office one day and I was like, "Hey, I need to give you my 2-week notice." And he's like, "Well, I'm going to need that in writing." Okay,
Nah,
so I walked over to my
I'm leaving.
workstation, ripped out some notebook paper, and wrote it down.
2 weeks.
Here's my 2-week notice.
Okay,
And
thanks.
well, yeah. After that, I worked for a home improvement company that was owned by a previous. That was also owned by a veteran, and that was great. I loved working with that guy. I learned a lot of stuff from him. Still friends with him on Facebook, and that was unfortunate because it was a great company. We did a lot of cool stuff, but it just ended up going under. Like, he called us in one day. He was like, "Hey, I'm gonna have to let you guys go." And I was like, "What?" So,
Oh shit.
and so I was like, "All right." So hurried up, found another job working at an art installation company. It was another family-owned company, and at first it was cool. I was like, okay, they do like it's Dallas, so there's a lot of rich people around, and they don't like doing things themselves. So we would go to their house and hang up their art collection, and so it was, make sure you're wearing the nice stuff, where you got your booties on so you don't mess up their carpet.
I was about to say, did you wear booties?
Yeah, and the customers that we worked for were really cool. They were like, "Oh yeah," so there was one house that we went to. I forget who the customer was, but along with the hanging artwork, which was like a couple hundred years old, they also had like ancient Mesopotamian like statues and like a little study area. And I'm like, dude, this is so cool. He's like, "Oh yeah, come on, I'll show you some other stuff." I'm like, "Oh man, this is badass." It was like a museum house. But
That would be cool.
yeah, it was
To have
nice.
that much money. I wouldn't
Yeah.
spend it on shit like that, though. I'd have the same house I got now with just a shitload of money.
But
you would tell because I'd have 4 cars in the driveway.
I would only have one car. I've said before, off topic, but on the same thought. If I ever win the lottery, the first thing I'm gonna buy is a car without a computer in it, and it's gonna.
Yeah.
My dream car would be the 71 Roadrunner. I just think the curves on that thing look beautiful. But
Yeah.
anyway, so I was working for that guy, the art installation. It was a family-owned, got passed down to the son and the daughter, brother and sister. I don't know how they ran that place because they were always yelling at each other. And then when they'd get mad, they'd yell at us. And after about
That
6
sounds
months
like
of that, I was like, okay, I don't want to work here, but I don't want to have a 6-month job. Like, I couldn't handle it. So I stuck around for a year and then gave my 2-week notice. And I did it professionally that time. I actually like printed it out and made it look all nice. I'm like, "This is why I'm leaving, blah, blah, blah. Thank you so much for having me."
I'm leaving because you suck.
But the job that I have now, I've been here for 2.5 years. And it's hard to explain exactly what they do. It's a Dallas startup. They've been around since like 2017 or something. And it's for like people that are transitioning. Like, mainly the best example I can give you is like sports people. They'll sign a contract for a year or two with like whatever team in Dallas, and then they'll move to the next place. So
Yeah.
most of the time they're coming from college. They don't have anything. So we rent them all the stuff they need for an apartment or whatever they're doing. It'll be the furniture, the kitchen utensils, silverware, plates, mugs, cups, glasses, everything. And they'll take it for a year or two, and then they'll move, and we'll just take it all back, clean it up, send it up to the next person. And it's
Gross.
It's
I'm
not
kidding.
bad.
Yeah, that sounds badass, honestly. It's a pretty good deal.
But I started there 2.5 years ago, and within like the first like 3 months, they were like, "So you're like," they're like, "You're prior military?" I'm like, "Yeah." "Well, can you handle this?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I can do that." And it just kept stacking. Like, now it's like when I take like a few vacation days, they're like, "Dude, it sucked without you having here." I'm like, that makes me feel so good. Like,
That's good, man.
I feel bad. But
Right.
at the same time, I'm like, it's nice to have an employer that really appreciates you and the work that you put in and notices when you're not there.
Yeah.
It's nice to have that kind of respect from somebody. And like that on top of the relationship that I have now, it's not, you know, it's not diamonds in the sky or anything like that. It's not Hollywood, but it makes me happy.
That's what you need right now.
Probably the happiest
all that
I've been since I've been out of the military.
That's
Fuck
good.
Yes, dude. That's what I like to hear.
I still got those, demons in the back of my brain, and still have those moments. But I can look around at where I'm at now, and I can tell myself it could be a lot worse, a lot worse.
Absolutely, could always be worse, man.
I am extremely grateful for the life that I have now, and I can be grateful and still realize that I have a lot of work to do. But I'm
for sure.
That's part of the journey, man. That's the great thing about being alive. Is getting to wake up and kind of work on that shit every day. And being 1% better than you were today, yesterday. And, if you can be better at better at work, better at home, better, husband, father, son, whatever you can do to be better, learn. One thing I've always done is like, if you don't learn at least one new thing a day, like, you kind of wasted that day. So I mean, whether that be about yourself, which is mainly where I kind of learn a lot about myself on a daily basis, just because I overthink a lot. But that's kind of why we started this deal. So yeah, man. Quick little recap. I mean, Sergeant Alder did 11 and a half years and had some ups, had some downs afterwards, and shared a super fucking powerful story with us, man. And again, I can't thank you enough for that, and just for being here and still being here.
I want to say thank you to you guys, because I don't know how long you guys have been planning on doing this, but when you first started posting on Facebook and everything, I was like, this is super stoked. I was like, this is so badass. And then, I think KZ, you mentioned it before, like, oh yeah, he watches every video. I'm like, yeah, as soon as they upload, I'm watching it. And,
this will be on tonight, by the way.
And as soon as I found out that you guys were doing like live chats and stuff, the thing started clicking in my brain. I'm like, I need to get on here. I need to, share a little bit. And I think that really helped me with taking another step. Is I've dealt with it myself, and now I'm kind of like letting it go. So I want to thank you guys for giving me that chance.
Dude. Hell yeah, dude. I got chills. Glad we could help, man. I'm really, truly, question why we spend so much time doing this, when it's not, it's for that, that's what keeps us going every day is when people reach out and tell us, shit like that. And, again, thank you so much. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up with that. And, we'll keep, let y'all know we got live Turret Talks coming up this Friday night. We might even try to introduce a little Twitch game streaming in. We are on Twitch. We haven't officially tried it yet. But yeah, you can come in, and I'm going to be playing some the Masters, some golf. You guys want to get in and do some golf with your boy? Holla, holla, holla. But yeah, man, yeah. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. Thanks for being on, and thank you, KZ, for being so beautiful.
Thank you, guys.
Always.
All right, love you guys.